What's up, Fright Flick family? I'm John, and welcome to part 2 of our massive 3-part series diving deep into the darkest corners of cinema with the definitive top 50 most disturbing movies ever made according to the awesome folks at disturbingmovies.com. In this second installment, we're counting down from number 30 to number 11, covering films that were designed to leave a permanent scar on your psyche. Let's go. Number 30, Subconscious Cruelty, released in 1999. Directed by Karim Hussein, this Canadian experimental anthology film is less of a story and more of a visual manifestation of nihilism and religious blasphemy. The film is divided into segments that explore the darkest recesses of the human mind, featuring imagery of eye mutilation and graphic rebirth sequences. Its low-budget, surrealist style gives it a dreamlike quality that makes the extreme violence feel both alien and hauntingly intimate. It remains a staple of underground cinema for those who seek out movies that prioritize disturbing visuals over a coherent plot. Number 29, Ichi the Killer, released in 2001. This adaptation of the manga by Hideo Yamamoto is a neon-soaked carnival of stylized gore directed by Takashi Miike. Tadanobu Asano stars as Kakihara, a masochistic Yakuza enforcer searching for a rival killer named Ichi, a psychologically broken man who dismembers victims with blades in his boots. The film is famous for scenes of extreme body horror, including a sequence where a character slices off his own tongue as an apology. Despite its bright colors and frantic energy, the sheer volume of blood and the depravity of the sexual violence make it a difficult watch. Number 28, Visitor Q, released in 2001. Another entry from Takashi Miike, Visitor Q is a bizarre, low-definition dive into the absolute collapse of a nuclear family. When a mysterious stranger enters the lives of a dysfunctional household, he encourages their descent into necrophilia, incest, and extreme domestic violence. While it contains Miike's signature dark humor, the imagery, including a scene involving a literal fountain of breast milk, is designed to provoke a visceral gag reflex. It is a deeply uncomfortable satire that challenges every possible social taboo regarding the family unit. Number 27, The Bunny Game, released in 2011. Directed by Adam Raymer, this experimental black and white film stars Rodleen Getsick as a sex worker who is abducted by a truck driver and subjected to extreme sadism. The movie gained notoriety because the physical abuse depicted was largely real, with the lead actress enduring actual branding and physical manhandling for the sake of the performance. Its handheld cinematography and abrasive sound design create a claustrophobic sensory assault that feels more like a documentary of a crime than a narrative film. Number 26, Atroz, released in 2015. Directed by Lex Ortega, this Mexican amateur-style film is often cited as one of the most violent movies ever made. The plot follows two serial killers whose heinous crimes are discovered by police via a series of recovered videotapes after a car accident. Ortega, who also stars in the film, utilizes a gritty, low-budget aesthetic to make the depictions of torture and sexual assault feel nauseatingly realistic. It's particularly disturbing for its snuff film presentation and a specific lingering scene involving a plunger that most viewers find impossible to sit through. Number 25, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, released in 1986. Directed by John McNaughton, this film stars Michael Rooker in a chillingly low-key performance as Henry, a man based loosely on real-life killer Henry Lee Lucas. Unlike stylized slashers, this movie presents murder with a cold, documentary-like detachment that makes it feel terrifyingly real. The most disturbing sequence involves the home invasion and murder of a family, which the killers film and rewatch later. It remains a masterpiece of psychological horror because it offers no motive and no redemption for its protagonist. The film's gritty 16mm look adds to the feeling that you're watching something you aren't supposed to be seeing. Number 24, The House That Jack Built, released in 2018. Lars von Trier directed this deeply provocative film starring Matt Dillon as Jack, a highly intelligent serial killer who views his crimes as works of art. The narrative follows Jack through 5 incidents over 12 years, showcasing his descent into absolute narcissism and depravity. It is particularly brutal for its depiction of violence against children and a scene involving a taxidermy duckling that sparked outrage at the Cannes Film Festival. The film uses Jack's internal monologue to force the audience into his twisted logic, making the viewer feel like a co-conspirator. It ends with a surreal journey through hell itself, cementing its status as a polarizing modern extreme classic. Number 23, I Spit on Your Grave, released in 1978. Directed by Meir Zarki, this is the definitive rape revenge film and stars Camille Keaton as Jennifer Hills, a writer who is brutally assaulted by 4 local men. The first half of the film is a grueling, prolonged depiction of her trauma designed to be nearly impossible to sit through. The second half shifts into a cold, calculated revenge spree where Jennifer hunts down her attackers and kills them in increasingly graphic ways. While some view it as a feminist statement, its explicit nature led to it being labeled a video nasty and being banned in the UK for decades. It remains disturbing because it refuses to look away from the raw, ugly reality of sexual violence and its aftermath. Number 22, Murder Set Pieces, released in 2004. Directed by Nick Palumbo, this film is a controversial entry in the slasher genre that leans heavily into a snuff-like aesthetic. It follows a photographer in Las Vegas who moonlights as a serial killer, targeting sex workers and innocent bystanders. The film is notorious for its mean-spirited tone and the inclusion of very young victims, which many critics found to be a step too far even for extreme cinema. It features cameos from horror icons like Tony Todd and Zelda Rubinstein, yet it remains one of the most hated films in the community due to its perceived lack of artistic merit. The high-definition gore and the cold, nihilistic world it builds makes it a deeply unpleasant viewing experience. Number 21, Antichrist, released in 2009. Another entry from Lars von Trier, this film stars Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg as a grieving couple who retreat to a cabin in the woods after the death of their young son. What begins as a study of grief quickly devolves into a nightmare of psychological warfare and extreme genital mutilation. The film is visually stunning but contains scenes, specifically one involving a rusty pair of scissors, that are among the most famous cringe moments in cinema history. It also explores themes of nature, misogyny, and despair with a visceral intensity that few other directors could achieve. Number 20, Inside, released in 2007. A standout of the new French extremity era, this film is a terrifying home invasion nightmare. Béatrice Dalle stars as a mysterious woman who breaks into the home of a pregnant widow with the sole intent of stealing her unborn child. The film is a bloodbath from start to finish, utilizing incredible practical effects to show the carnage of a woman fighting for her life and the life of her unborn baby. The ending is one of the most shocking and gore-drenched finales in the history of the horror genre. It's claustrophobic, relentless, and arguably one of the most intense films on this entire list. Number 19, Regurgitated Sacrifice, released in 2008. Directed by Lucifer Valentine, this is the second film in the Vomit Gore trilogy and is widely considered even more disturbing than the first. It blends surrealist imagery with hardcore pornography and actual fetish acts, specifically focused on emetophilia. The plot, if there is one, involves the psychological disintegration of a young woman, but the film is really an excuse for a sensory assault of bodily fluids and simulated gore. It sits in a subgenre of its own where the goal is to trigger a physical gag reflex in the audience. It's an underground extreme film that many fans of traditional horror find repulsive and unwatchable. Number 18, Slow Torture Puke Chamber, released in 2010. This is the final installment of Lucifer Valentine's Vomit Gore series and acts as a culmination of everything that made the previous films notorious. It pushes the aesthetic of the disgusting to its absolute limit, featuring even more graphic depictions of self-harm, vomit, and blood. It's strictly for those who want to see how far cinema can go into the realm of the grotesque and the transgressive. It's frequently cited as one of the most difficult films to finish due to its relentless focus on bodily waste. Number 17, Philosophy of a Knife, released in 2008. Directed by Andrei Iskanov, this 4-hour Russian epic is a part documentary, part reenactment look at the horrors of Unit 731, a biological warfare unit of the Imperial Japanese Army. The film is shot in a grainy, sepia-toned black and white, making the horrific medical experiments look like archival footage. It features scenes of teeth extraction, frostbite tests, and live dissections that are among the most graphic ever filmed. The sheer length of the movie makes it an endurance test for even the most seasoned horror fans. It's a grim, exhausting reminder of the real-world atrocities committed in the name of science. Number 16. August Underground's Penance, released in 2007. The final film in Fred Vogel's August Underground trilogy is often considered the most polished, yet it remains incredibly depraved. It continues the story of a group of serial killers who film their atrocities on a home camcorder, giving the viewer a first-person perspective of their crimes. The practical effects are so realistic that the creators were once detained by customs because the footage was mistaken for actual snuff. This installment focuses more on the interpersonal dynamics of the killers, making their casual cruelty feel even more disturbing. Number 15. August Underground, released in 2001. This is the film that started it all for Fred Vogel and Toe Tag Pictures, introducing the world to a new level of found footage realism. There is no plot. The camera simply follows a killer as he abducts, tortures, and murders various victims in his basement. The low-quality video makes the practical effects look seamless, creating an illusion of reality that is deeply upsetting. It stripped away the fun of the horror genre and replaced it with a feeling of genuine danger and voyeurism. Many viewers find the lack of a moral center or a hero to be the most disturbing aspect of the experience. Number 14. Grotesque, released in 2009. Directed by Koji Shiraishi, this Japanese film is a torture porn exercise that takes the concept to its absolute extreme. A young couple is kidnapped by a sadistic doctor who subjects them to a series of escalating mutilations to test their love for one another. The film is famous for its penis hammer scene and other moments of intense genital and ocular torture. It was famously refused a rating by the BBFC in the UK, effectively banning it because it was deemed to have no merit other than to shock. Unlike Audition or I Saw the Devil, there's very little story here, just an unrelenting gauntlet of physical pain. Number 13. The Human Centipede 2, released in 2011. Directed by Tom Six, this sequel is a black and white meta-horror film that follows a mentally disturbed fan of the first movie. Lawrence R. Harvey plays Martin, a silent man who decides to create his own 12-person centipede using crude tools like staple guns and duct tape. The film is far more graphic and mean-spirited than the original, featuring scenes of sexual violence and extreme body horror that were heavily censored in many countries. The decision to shoot in black and white was made to emphasize the film's dirty and industrial feel. It's a bleak, repulsive sequel that actively tries to offend its audience at every turn. Number 12. Irreversible, released in 2002. Directed by Gaspar Noé, this film is famous for its reverse chronological. Number 11. Guinea Pig, Devil's Experiment, released in 1985. This is the first entry in the infamous Japanese Guinea Pig series, and it plays out as a found snuff tape of a woman being systematically tortured. She's slapped, burned, and eventually poked in the eye with a needle, all while the camera captures it with a cold, clinical eye. Because the film lacked credits or a clear narrative, it contributed to the urban legend that the series featured actual murders. The special effects were so convincing that it helped launch a franchise dedicated entirely to the art of the fake snuff film, and it remains a landmark in underground cinema. Alright family, that wraps up the second entry in our three-part series. We started this video at number 30 with the surreal, nihilistic fever dream that is subconscious cruelty, and we fought our way down to the cold, clinical brutality of Guinea Pig Devil's Experiment at number 11. If you're still with me, you've got a stronger stomach than most, so make sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell because the worst is truly yet to come. In the next video, we reach the end game, the top 10 most notorious, banned, and depraved films ever committed to celluloid. This has been John for Fright Flick FMK. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to drop a comment below and let me know which of these films that I covered in this video broke you, and I will see you in the finale as we reveal the top 10 from DisturbingMovies.com's list of the top 50 most disturbing movies ever made.